Nickie, good to see you again.
Lovely to see you too.
And I must admit, I thought that this was going to be an update meeting for the Fit Show in May, but it's kind of something slightly different. And I
Yeah,
must admit, a very sensible move to move it to September.
thank you. I think so. It was really, we weren't left with much choice, although, there's still talk about exhibitions starting up in May, but it was more around any assurances I could offer to guarantee a return on investment and the right audience numbers. And I just felt I didn't have the confidence that I would be able to do that in May.
Huge decision, though, to move it to September like that. I mean, obviously very sensible because presumably until everybody's had the jab, they're not going to feel comfortable. And I suspect that's going to go on well into the summer before everybody's inoculated.
I mean, depending on the press reports you read, this morning I was reading that all people over 50 will be vaccinated by April. You just hear so many varying reports, but the thing is with Fit Show and for all the exhibitors that invest huge amounts of money, you just can't sort of push something through on hope rather than judgment. So there were an enormous amount of factors to be taken into consideration when I decided, and it was literally in the lead up to Christmas when they started putting people in tier 4. Birmingham was one of the first places to go. And when that started happening, I've always said, and I've always been really clear, that I would not try and force the show to open unless I felt that it was going to be as successful as it always has been. So negotiations with the NEC started, Chris, and a huge amount of factors to look at, not least being that I believe the appetite for summer holidays will be massive this year. So I needed to look at that. I needed to look at school terms. I needed to look at the timings of other exhibitions and all that with the backdrop of an NEC calendar, which is absolutely crammed full. So it wasn't as easy as it sounds, perhaps, to some people.
It's interesting you say that. I kind of imagined that the NEC would have bags of vacancies because everybody cancelled, but that's not the case then.
Well, what's happened is obviously every period of time during this lockdown, what has happened is that organisers have moved moved them forward. And that was already taking shape around autumn shows for 2020 that had moved into the spring dateline for 21. And then, of course, the Jan, Feb, March shows, and they have a very full calendar, are then looking at where are they going to move to. And it's all really bottlenecking into an August, sort of September onwards dateline. I mean, obviously, I was not prepared to even consider July and August because of summer holidays. And so they don't have, weirdly enough, they don't have huge amounts of space. And equally, it's really important that you look at, it's not just the dates, it's whether the halls are going to work for you, whether it's going to be the right fit for the show. So, there are an awful lot of factors to consider. But I think, we've nailed it really with the dateline we've got, 26th to the 28th of September. I think it's going to work really well for as a response, if you like, to COVID, and as a response to, perhaps equally importantly, is the V-shaped recovery experienced by this industry. And the fact that installers have been absolutely flat out working, so I just feel that it gives us enough breathing space to build a successful show, and it will be in a safe zone, and it will also offer installers a more realistic opportunity to really go in and look at new suppliers.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because with it starting on a Sunday this time, um, like the old GlassX time of having the installer Sunday, do you think that's going to encourage more installers to come?
Yes, I mean, the reason I've done that is, again, as a response to the last 10 months, is that I believe, I mean, we've always suffered at Fit, and I've been transparent about it with you before. We've had a struggle, if you like, to really justify to installers the importance of taking a day off the tools in order to come and see what we have on offer at Fit. And I think I've spoken to you at length before about perhaps some of our messaging hasn't been right. But I think recognising the challenges that the last 10 months have presented installers particularly, I believe that opening over a weekend date will give them an ideal opportunity. You know, that they're not having to take time off work. Probably they've spent enough time at home after all these lockdowns that they will want to come and see what the industry is all about. And yeah, so that was really the background of the decision. I've always been an advocate for a Sunday opening, and I met with resistance from the founders, to be honest. Matthew particularly wasn't very pro a Sunday opening. So I've always believed that for tradespeople, Sunday opening is traditionally a fantastic day at all trade shows. But yeah, so this just presented the ideal opportunity for me to move it into that. And I think it's a concept that will carry forward for years to come, because I think it will work really well.
Well, certainly my memory of a Sunday at GlassX, it was really very, very successful. And it was actually billed as Installer Sunday, and it was inundated. It was very, very good. So I think it's a move in the right direction.
Yeah, I think so. I really think that people that are flat out installing and don't have time in the week, I think they will give up a day of the weekend. And we're going to do quite a lot, Chris, in terms of marketing packages, you know, to try and not that children can visit Fit Show, but so that we can try and encourage a sort of family weekend away. And again, you know, I think that when we get out this absolute carnage, I think people will want to go away for weekends with their family. And I'm hoping that we can put together some packages for that. They've got Bear Grylls on site, for instance. We can put some packages together with hotels and entertainment facilities in the area, which will really encourage the installers to come with their families and then whiz over and have a good look round Fit Show on the Sunday.
I think that's excellent. Very good idea indeed. Can we just talk a bit about the logistics of all this? Because it's one thing getting the dates at the NEC, but you've got all the issues of contractors. You've got all the exhibitors to talk to explain it to them. They've got to talk to their stand builders. You've got hotels, you know, are the beds available and all these things. It's a huge job, isn't it, really, to move dates?
Yeah, I mean, organising an exhibition is a huge job in itself. So moving dates presents its challenges. Unfortunately, because of the times we're living in, I'm becoming quite an expert at it, which is not a skill set I ever expected to hone quite so successfully. But the thing I think with Fit, which differs from every other trade show, and we've spoken about this before, is that there's such an enthusiasm for it. And I think all the exhibitors, we talk to our exhibitors all the time. And in the lead up to Christmas, I was saying to people, don't appoint a stand builder yet, you know, until we can be absolutely sure, because obviously building stands costs a lot of money. So I was encouraging exhibitors to push back and delay starting design and build, delay confirming hotels and all of those things. And the conversations we've had, which really only started on Tuesday this week, last Tuesday last week, have been so positive, overwhelmingly positive, because everybody wants Fit Show, and I think everybody recognises we were between a rock and a hard place, and if we hadn't moved it, I think we would have really struggled, Chris. So yeah, we've got the market behind us. They've been absolutely fantastic, and that's half the battle, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got what, something like 100 plus exhibitors booked at the moment.
Yeah, we have.
2 halls, is it, that you're looking to do?
It's 2 halls, but 3 halls, but it's a similar size space to the one that we'd contracted for 21 originally. So there's not much difference. It's slightly smaller, but not something you would notice. In gross space, it's about 1,000 square meters smaller, but that's nothing. So the gangways, you know, we're not going to go tight on the gangways, because that didn't really work out when we tried to do that before. It created havoc during build. But no, I mean, it's in 17, 18 and 19, which are great halls. They haven't got the complications of perhaps some of the halls on the other side of the NEC, in the sense that there aren't that many height restrictions. They're all in a long line together, so we've got a longer frontage, which is great because a lot of exhibitors like frontline stands. So yeah, I mean, I think we've got an ideal scenario, the right size, back at the other side of the NEC, which is further away from the transport links, which has its downsides, because we were quite pleased, you know, to be moving Fit into halls 2 and 3, which are over by the station and the airport access. But, you know, we're working hard with the NEC on making sure that the links are all working really well. And I still think that Fit Show will have a lot of people arrive by car rather than public transport. That's always been the case. So the car parking is fantastic. There's loads of it. So yeah, I'm really happy with the halls we've got. I'm happy with the layout. We've managed to not disrupt too many exhibitors in terms of changing their stand configurations and sizes and positioning in relation to entrances and all the things that are priorities for them. We've managed to do that, which is great. And yeah, it's been reacted to very, very positively.
What about the hotel situation? I mean, if you've got other exhibitions going on, there's always a bit of a balance, isn't there, as to where the accommodation is, can you get into the local hotels, etc. How has that worked out?
Fine at the moment, but I think that because at the moment, as there's so much movement on the calendar, I can't say for certain what we're going to be alongside at the moment. So I would suggest, because most hotels are being reasonable in terms of their cancellation policies. So from an exhibitor perspective, where they might be booking, you know, 30 rooms, for instance, I'm suggesting to people that they look at that sooner rather than later, as long as they can book it without penalty, which they should be able to. I mean, it's weird, Chris, because we've never had a problem with hotels on site. There are, I can't remember how many rooms exactly, but there are hundreds of hotel bedrooms within sort of a 5-mile radius, and most of those are on site. But as an example, on our May dates, I heard the news in about, I think it was about November, beginning of November, a great big farm show had moved into May dates, so would have been running at the NEC. So you can imagine, I was dreading that. I was thinking, God, you know, combine harvesters and tractors rumbling by, and you know, so again, it's a logistical consideration, and it's something that I obviously jump on straight away. But I think we're going to be in better shape in September than we were originally in May, with the farm show running alongside us.
It's interesting because you say that you've had good reaction from exhibitors. I mean, that's sort of translated to us as well. We've had people on wanting to put advertising into September to coincide with fit editions of Glass News and things. So people are definitely accepting the fact, well, more than accepting. I mean, they're looking forward to it with some glee, I suspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the great thing is, Chris, as well, and it's worth a mention. We've spoken about the Sunday opening, and I was a little bit, because I've always been so for it, and I've met with resistance previously internally. I was sort of a bit, not hesitant. That's the wrong word, but the last few sort of 10 days of conversations, people are absolutely behind the whole idea. They really believe in it. So I'm really pleased about that.
Has it generated any new exhibitors already, or do you expect that to come in the next few months?
Well, I think that will come, Chris. The honest answer is yes, it has. I took a booking yesterday from UK Doors Online, who are new exhibitors. That's quite a good stand size. But in the main, we've prioritised settling our existing exhibitors who, you know, at the end of the day, they have supported us through some very, very tough times with the industry in general, with the exhibition industry in general. So I wanted to make sure that we prioritise settling them in on the stand positions that they were happy with before we just opened the floor plan up to anybody and everybody. So we're predicting that all those moves will have been concluded by close of play on Friday, and then we're going to go out to market generally. And I expect there to be a lot of interest. Well, there should be, because for all the reasons we've spoken about at length before, people need to get behind this trade show. They need to get behind their trade show and support it in whatever way they're able to. And I think September is going to probably be the biggest in terms of audience that we've ever had. I really, really predict that. I think people are going to come out of this and they are going to be desperate for face-to-face celebration, meeting their mates, you know, the whole thing.
What about sort of innovation then for this show? What are the various highlights that you're sort of putting in as part of the show?
Well, we're going to be doing a lot of focus around new product, Chris, because we know that that is what the installers primarily want to see. So there'll be a lot of focus around that. What that's going to physically look like, it's too early days, but I think that the new September dateline has been a bit of a relief to some of our exhibitors who were going to be under enormous pressure to deliver on their NPD by May, you know, coping with COVID as they have all been. So that's given them some breathing space. So I'm expecting people that, I mean, there's quite a lot of people that have already told me they are definitely launching new. So there'll be a lot of focus around that. Focusing in around new talent in the industry. We're launching a scheme around attracting new talent. We've got, obviously, as we always have at FIT, a seminar program which will be CPD approved and very comprehensive. We've got the marketing village produced by Perplex, the Fit Bar, which I predict is going to be very busy. So yeah, I think it will be Fit Show as we know it, but in warmer climate and over a weekend.
And social stuff in the evenings, much the same as normal?
Yeah, the temptation, because of the eagerness to celebrate the industry, and because after long periods of lockdown, the temptation could be to revisit the idea of a gala dinner, but I think I'm going to be working alongside Andrew Scott. He's got some plans for some social events linked to the show, because obviously he's got his glazing summit, I think the weekend after. So, the weekend after. So we're going to be working really alongside him. I want to do a late night. at the show, because again, I think it's just giving every opportunity possible for installers to come along. So I'm going to do a late night, which I want to be more of a party atmosphere, bit of music, you know, and bit of dancing. Just generally a celebration that we've got through the other side of this, and I think that we're going to get a huge engagement from that.
Tell me, as far as registering for FIT goes, a lot of us will have registered already. Do we have to re-register now the dates have changed, or does it remain on?
That will be an automatic process. I think it's just about to happen, actually. So it's a software change on our side. So we make the change, and then your registration, if you've already registered, your registration will just simply move across. You don't need to do any more.
Are you able to give any idea as to the numbers of registrations at the moment?
No, not for any other reason, is that I haven't checked it. But I'm not going to lie, Chris, we were running behind, or, you know, before Christmas, we were running way behind previous shows, but that is a sign of the times, you know. Who wanted before Christmas to register for a trade show in May? You know, it's not a lot of people, so I'm expecting that to ramp up now. We've moved it into a safer dateline.
Yeah, and it should be a completely safe dateline, this, shouldn't it, really? I mean, you've pushed it out far enough to give all the opportunity for vaccination to take place, etc.
Yeah.
We should be back to some sort of normality by then, you would think.
I think so. And I think it's also worth mentioning again that because we don't rely, although we've got some international exhibitors, we don't rely on international audiences. So even if, and really, please, let's hope there are none, but even if there are any travel restrictions in place from any country, that won't affect our audience because most of it is domestic. So, you know, from that point of view, I think September, and it is at the end of September, we'll be back to life as we knew it.
What about the message you want to get over to potential exhibitors and indeed potential visitors? I mean, is there anything that you can do to really persuade them that this is going to happen, this is going to be the show that you really need to be at?
I don't think the messaging needs to change, Chris. I think FIT Show, well, when I say I don't think the messaging needs to change, the messaging is the same as it's always been, but perhaps with a new creative agency on board, as we have, it will be clearer that FIT Show is the only show in our industry in the UK and is a must-attend event. I mean, if you know, from an installer perspective, or indeed a fabricator or any of the exhibitors, this is their opportunity, their one opportunity in the UK to celebrate their industry, to join together, to launch new products. It's still, exhibiting is still the most cost-effective way of marketing. And that's not taking anything away from advertising, but it is still such an effective method of marketing that FIT Show is a must. And it's been a must since it was launched in 2013. And I think the market know it, Chris. You know, I think that most people know it. It's just, well, I think I'd like to, if you wouldn't mind, repeat what I said to you in our last recorded meeting, was that what I want exhibitors to do is not sit and think, well, if I can't do a massive stand, there's no point me going. What I want them to do is focus in on just being part of it. And, you know, we've got so many different options available to us. It's just important they're there. And it doesn't have to be a massive double-decker stand. They don't even have to be launching new product, but they do need to be there to show the industry, show the visitors that they're in business and they're ready to do business, and really to meet up with their peers and meet up with their customers.
And I think that's a good place to leave it, because that's the message, isn't it? This is going to be the big opportunity for us to all meet together as an industry after this horrendous time that we've all had. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to it, Nickie. And I look
Yeah,
forward to a further update in a couple of months from you.
absolutely. And it's busy times, but really, really exciting. So thank you, as always.
Thanks, Nickie. Bye for now.
Speak again soon.